Good afternoon all. This is Aniket Agrawal presenting on our proposed Cardinal e-voting system utilizing some cutting-edge technologies like blockchain, biometrics, watermarking, QR code, and most importantly, we have employed partial homomorphic encryption in this. So this is on behalf of other co-authors as well, Kamla Kanseti and Dr. Padmalochan Bera. So talking about the basic overview, so we have basically proposed a privacy preserving and verifiable election mechanism. This is specifically made for Indian context, where we have got basic electoral unit as a constituency. And this is basically following a cardinal voting paradigm. That means voters will actually cast scores instead of choices. And this is premised on a blockchain technology and smart contract. So first we'll be discussing about the fingerprint biometrics, which is based on some advanced image processing techniques like visual cryptography. There is digital watermarking and QR codes as well coming into action. Then ECO. So there is an Election Commission Officer, or ECO as an acronym, and constituency authorities. So ECO basically shares a secret amongst all of these CAs. And as far as the partial homomorphic encryption is concerned, we are encrypting all of these scores casted by the voters using exponential Elgamal encryption. And so let's say that vote score is in a range, let's say 0 to 3. So for that very reason, we are basically having ZKP, zero knowledge proof. And that's been made non-interactive using a heuristic known as Fiat-Shamir heuristic. And the zero knowledge proof is relying upon the Pedersen commitment protocol. And we have got smart contract digital signature being played out at the backend also in order to certify the ballot legitimacy and the legality of the casted scores. So this is the most important thing. So let's say the voters in a constituency are casting their scores and that will be aggregated. So that's referred to as intra-constituency aggregation. And that score casted is in a particular range, let's say 0 to 3. So it's a range voting paradigm. But when these aggregation is taking place at the constituency level, each constituency will come up with a winning party. So that winning party score will be aggregated using plurality paradigm. So I'll be discussing all of these features in detail in the subsequent slides. And moreover, we are having a tie-breaking strategy also, which is pertaining to both inter and intra-constituency aggregation. This is the flow diagram. So this is the 5 prerequisites: system setup, voter must register as per the eligibility criteria, pseudonym must be generated for each and every single voter, owner share with respect to his fingerprint and the handwritten signature must be created, and the key distribution by the ECO, that is Election Commission Officer. So all of these 5 are the prerequisites. They must actually happen prior to the start of the election. When these 5 happen, election begins. So first phase is the voter authentication phase. So each single voter is having its own owner share. So their owner shares for the different voters, and hash of all of these images are being taken. And this is being stored in a hash enrollment database, which is different for all of the constituencies. So constituency authority is having control over this particular database. So let's say I basically tamper 1 pixel of this particular image, the hash gets completely altered. So for that very reason, we are actually having a concept of hash enrollment database. So the master share is there, which is same for all of the constituency. So irrespective of your location, you can actually cast your vote. And a blockchain is being created at the backend. I actually will show all of these features through an animation in the later part. So when the master share and the owner share are superimposed over one another, so it basically creates a watermarked image in which that particular voter's fingerprint image and the handwritten signature were initially watermarked before the start of the election. And this is having 2 parts: the encrypted user details, just to check the citizenship and the eligibility of the voter at the time of the election, and the fingerprint minutiae features will be extracted. In this particular thing, I am basically referring to the live fingerprint image, which will be taken by a sensor at the time of the election, and the signature verification is optional. And the comparison takes place. So coming back to the flow diagram, so share detail verification, if it's valid, then user will be actually progressing towards the match by biometric phase. If it's no, user will act, or in this particular case, the voter will exit the system immediately. And if the biometrics are matched, voter will be actually allowed to progress towards the second phase, that's the Cardinal e-voting phase. If it's no, then we'll actually trace the pseudonym of the malicious voter. So if the biometrics are, suppose they are matching with a score which is less than the threshold, so it's more likely it's a malicious voter who is trying to cast the vote. So we'll basically trace the pseudonym or the real identity of that particular voter and we'll ask him to exit the system. The second phase is the Cardinal e-voting phase. So this entire flow diagram pertaining to the second phase, I'll just show this through an animation. So first, what users do, they will actually cast score votes, in the sense scores in a particular range, but this will be pseudonymized so that these scores are basically not mapped to a particular real identity. just to ensure coercion resistance. You are not able to prove to the other voter that what you have voted for, just to ensure election fairness and completeness. Then you have got partial knowledge range proof. So let's say I have basically casted a score between 0 to 3. Now, at the constituency authority, they will never come to know that what I actually encrypted. Let's say a particular party is very much favorite to me. I could cast a score of 100 also. So for that very reason, it must be accompanied by a partial knowledge range proof. I am kind of telling that I have casted a score in this particular range, 0 to 3, but I'm not telling you what I've casted, 0 or 1 or 2 or 3. I'm simply telling you that whatever I've casted, whatever the underlying plain text is, it's in a particular range. But what it is still not known. So if the PKRP verification is valid, that particular score will be taken into account for the constituency score aggregation. If it's no, it's rejected. And suppose if there is a tie after the decryption of all of these aggregate scores, then you have to break the tie. So I'll just discuss about the tie breaking strategy also. And suppose there is no tie, you progress further, and constituencies will actually aggregate all of their binary vectors, all of their respective winning parties. And finally, you will come up with a final winning party who will basically win over the majority of the constituencies in the considered province. This is the sequence diagram. So I'll just talk about it in brief. So there are several entities: verification authority, voters, constituency authority, and election commission officer. So this is the registration procedure, the initial part, where the voter is registering, the pseudonym is being provided. The pseudonym is basically stored in the constituency authority enrollment database. Then the secret distribution is happening. ECU is distributing secret shares among different constituency authorities. Now it's the time for the voters to post or upload their scores. So this is being accompanied by a signature. This is a signed score. And this is accompanying that range proof also. This is verified. This another voter score is also verified. If everything goes well, then they will be taken to constitution for the intra-constituency aggregation. Now let's say there is a malicious voter, the red one, shown in the red one, and it also wants its score to be taken to constitution for the aggregation. It will not be, because all of the verification will fail at the CA end only, and it will report the malicious pseudonym, and it will be traced. So the traceability procedure is executed by the verification authority, and this malicious voter will be revoked or blacklisted from any further voting procedure. So finally, all of these plurality or binary vectors are aggregated again, and the inter-constituency aggregation takes place at the ECO end, the final aggregation, and the ECO announces the final winner. This is sequence diagram, and I want to show the animation for the first phase. So let's say this is the user. This is having a fingerprint image and a handwritten signature. The user details are encoded in a QR code. These two images are basically embedded in this particular QR code. Actually, you can pick up your smartphones and scan this QR code. It will literally give you some random user details like having name, location, and run length encoding. So yeah, one more important thing is that we have basically used binary images only. The reason is that because it's quite easy to compress the binary images using techniques like run length encoding. So if you just pick up your smartphones and scan this particular QR code, it will actually give you address, date of birth, all of the location, all of the details which are required to check the eligibility, citizenship of the voter at the time of the election. And this is the QR code watermarking, and how this watermarking is take place is using the algorithm given towards the right hand side. So these two are the biometric images, and we are basically relying upon DWT over majorly. Now DCT comes in a very small portion after the DWT. Specifically, we are relying upon 2D DWT. So what we do, so there are 4 types, 4 bands in a particular image: HH, high frequency, mid bands, LH, HL, LL. So we are basically applying it twice. So LL is also split among these 4 bands. So let's say this is the fingerprint image. This is for just demonstration purpose, how a fingerprint image looks like in different bands. So I'm basically taking into consideration LH of LL band for the signature, this one, and the fingerprint. HL band is being taken into consideration for the fingerprint. So the reason for applying this entire watermarking procedure twice is just to enhance the signal to noise ratio. That means you'll basically are enhancing robustness of the entire watermarking algorithm over here. Then comes into action visual cryptography. This is the owner share. This is the master share. And this is the CA, some particular person assigned for the constituency authority. And these two are superimposed over one another. And it results in the same watermark QR code image. Again, the same extraction procedures, the inverse DWT, and the biometric image is being verified at this particular end. Now, in order to verify whether these two images are really same or not, we need to calculate P to signal noise ratio, that is PSNR value, to check how robust this watermarking algorithm is. So our watermarking robustness results were the following. So suppose if you apply aggressive blurring attack on this image, suppose the adversary is there, who is involved in the online tampering of this particular image. So these two are the results. Signature is destroyed to a great extent, but still fingerprint verification can be done because the PSNR values are quite low in this case. So if the blurring attack is basically launched with 5x5 matrix, then definitely fingerprint verification at least can be done to some extent. Salt and pepper, both of the verification can be done quite nicely because both of them are recognizable at least. Median filtering, again, median filtering is impacting both of them to a great extent, but the verification was done with some accuracy at least. Coming to the major part, the cryptographic part, the additive homomorphic encryption I'd like to talk about. So in the traditional encryption system, let's say I've got three values, 11, 10, and 11. I want to actually compute the sum. So let's say these three values are encrypted, uploaded to the cloud server. Cloud server wants to actually come up with the aggregate of all of these three, 11, 10, and 11. So what it has to do, it has to decrypt all of these three encrypted values individually, 11, 10, 11, it will add and will get the result 32. But this is quite impractical because you are performing decryption many times. Decryption is quite a costly procedure. So this is the reason why homomorphic encryption comes into picture. Because so now you will basically homomorphically encrypt all of these three values, 11, 10, 11, homomorphically aggregate. That means just multiply all of these three values, and one single decryption is required in order to get the result as 32. One more important thing over here is that it's probabilistic. That means same value 11 results in a different cipher. So that probabilistic nature is also very important for the e-voting scenario. That means we are employing some kind of random constraint or randomization. That same value will be encrypted to different values. So this concept is being used. And talking about rest of the schemes, Gentry proposed a fully homomorphic encryption scheme in the year 2009, but this was considered to be quite impractical. So we go for the green ones. That is, these are the practical ones. And specifically, I'm concentrating upon the partial homomorphic encryption. So fully ones are the ones which are basically enabling both multiplicativity and as well as additivity, whereas partial either go for addition or the multiplication. So I'm basically concentrating upon El-Gamal because of its higher efficiency, higher encryption efficiency. It was proposed in 1984. It's inherently multiplicative, but I am using an additive version of El-Gamal, the twisted El-Gamal. So this is a basic global setup. There are 4 candidates, let's say per constituency. There's a constituency authority, 9 constituency authorities are there for the 9 constituencies. Election Commission officer, you basically distribute the secret shares among all of these authorities using Shamir K9 threshold. K can be anything like 5, 6. And voting starts. So each particular user is allowed to cast a score of 0 to 3. R is equal to 3. BLA signature, bond list, Shajam signature in order to verify the accuracy of the score. Non-interactive zero knowledge proof. These 4 things are being accompanied and its block is being created. So a Merkle hash tree is being created for each and every single constituency. And there is a linkage established between each and every single constituency block. So I just want to explain this detailed scoring procedure. Let's say there are 4 parties. For the first constituency, voter 1 is having 0, 3, 2, 1 as scores for parties P1, P2, P3, and P4. So these decimal values are stored in binary format. 0 is 0, 0, 3 is 1, 1, and so on. So all of these binary scores, 0 or 1, are encrypted. And this results in 2 parts, C1 and C2 of that is El-Gamal cipher pair. So same goes for V2, same goes for V3. And all of these are aggregated. And how do you convert binary to decimal? Simply by just multiplying the first column by 2, addition to the second column. So you have to actually take the square of the first column and then multiply with the second column, which results in the underlying plain text being processed like this: 2 into column 1 plus the second column. So you get the scores as 2, 4, 6, 5, and the party P3 emerges victorious in constituency 1. Now it's encrypted as 0, 0, 1, 0. So this is done by the CA, constituency authority for the constituency 1. So it's basically passed on as 0, 0, 1, 0. That means party 3 has emerged victorious for this particular seat in constituency 1. Now what happens for the constituency 2? Everything goes well, but the scores are 3, 3, 1, 2. They are tied. Party P1 and P2 are tied at the scores of 3, 3. Now the question is, who should go through? Now here we are basically checking. So there are scores of 0, 1, 2, and 3. So let's say a reviewer basically evaluating a publication manuscript. 3 can be considered as strong accept, 2 for weak accept, 1 for strong, 1 for weak reject, and 0 for strong reject. So we are considering the scores of 2s and 3s only, that is accepts only. So 2s and 3s have got 1 as the MSBs, and 0s and 1s have got 0s as the MSBs. So we'll basically take into consideration this one. So P1 had a score of P1 had a score of 1 1 1. P2 had a score of 3 0 0. So P2 has got actually 1 3, one score of 3. So that is being used to break the tie. This most significant bit of 1. So P2 will be considered victorious for the constituency 2. Now for the constituency through 3, I have actually taken a very extreme example where the tie breaking continuously happens. Now let's say P4 has emerged victorious in constituency 3. Now 3 parties have emerged victorious in 3 different parties, in fact, or other than P1, P2, P3, P4 have emerged victorious in their respective constituencies. And again, a tie happens. All of these 3 are basically claiming 1 seat each. So whom should be really considered as the majority declaring party? So P2, P3, P4, there's a tie between P2, P3, and P4. Now you'll basically aggregate all of these scores: 2, 4, 6, 5, 3, 3, 1, 2, 1, 4, 6, 5. Now total is 5, 8, 12, 12. So P2 is having a score of 8, P3, P4 both 12. So P2 is eliminated. Now P3, P4, still there is a tie existing between them. Again, you'll resolve using the concept of strong except and weak except. That means scores of 3s and 2s. So you'll just take into consideration 2, 1. So 2, 1 is there, 1, 1, and 2, 1. Now just more significant bits. That means essentially there are scores of representing scores of 3s and 2s, number of scores of 2s and 3s obtained by a particular party. So in this particular case, P3 emerges victorious. So P3 is a regional party in this case because P3 is participating in constituency 1 and constituency 3 only, whereas P1 is having national presence. So there are 2 types of parties. And one more important thing is this red ones. So P3 is not basically contesting election from the constituency 2. So there is really no need to encrypt the votes casted for it. You can actually pass on it as unencrypted 1 because it's a multiplicative identity. You will just multiply it with the initial value that will remain same. Sorry.
Carry on, please.
Yeah, so this is the score voting summary, the hierarchically aggregation. So these are hierarchically aggregated along with the BLS signature. And this is the interconstituency aggregation which takes place by ECO using the plurality paradigm, and the final decryption happens. So there is a blockchain being created at 2 levels, one at the voter level, one at the constituency level. So this is the voter blockchain. This is the voter Merkle hash tree. And there is a constituency Merkle hash tree also. So there is a linkage between the voter blocks. There's a linkage between the constituency blocks. And this is the entire blockchain design at 2 levels. Yeah, one more important thing I want to discuss over here, this blue card. This blue card is representing a BLS signature. So it is to assure data integrity and data non-repudiation. Suppose any tampering happens with the scores, it can be verified using this particular signature. Suppose voter 1 tomorrow denies that I have not casted the vote. So data non-repudiation is also assured. You can't deny the ownership of the data you actually send, because the secret key, voter 1 is the one who is actually employing his or her secret share in order to generate this particular signature. So this signature cannot be generated by others, because that particular secret key is assumed to be known to that particular generator only, the voter 1. So these are the security and performance analysis. There is location independence. We are having a master share which is independent of the constituency location. You can cast from any location. No voter duplication. Voters cannot cast their votes twice because, as I said, one database is being controlled over by the constituency authority. Eligibility, those who are not above 18 years old, definitely will not be able to cast the vote because they would have been verified by the verification authority. Coercion resistance, one voter will not be able to verify to the other voter that what kind of score he has casted. So that is very important for assuring fairness in election. You want to assure secrecy of n minus k voters against the rest of the k voters. That is also achieved. That is what is meant by maximal ballot secrecy. We basically saw something related to tie breaking also. So this election procedure is complete in the sense that we are assuring robustness towards majority of the cryptographic attacks. For example, false data injection attack through means of signature, replay attack through means of time stamping. Fairness is also enabled, and we are also assuring decentralized and verifiability, decentralized nature and verifiability through the smart contract, blockchain, and the distribution and the CA setup, constituency authority setup. These are the theoretical results, and this is a graph I obtained with respect to the number of candidates. As the number of candidates per constituency increase, of course, the time taken for the encryption increases. More the scores the voter has to encrypt per constituency. And these are the results with respect to the number of voters per constituency. Of course, voters in a position to verify whether his or her voter is being taken to constitution for counting or not. So that verifiability mechanism is there, that shown by blue bar. And of course, more the number of voters, more the intra-constituency aggregation time. This is quite obvious. So talking about the practical applications, definitely foundation is laid for developing a coherent system, maybe developing some innovative crypto system for the following research domains. The same concept actually could be utilized for aggregating power consumption data for electricity grids. And you have got transmission of e-question papers that could be done in secure way using watermarking. Biometrics, we just saw biometrics as a service. Then finance banking sector, where you have got watermarked currency notes. Healthcare and military applications, you want the image transmission to be secure, especially for a very sensitive geographical location or an X-ray image of a patient. And this could support machine learning as a service. Indian election, we are just looking at right now. And other use cases also it can support. And these are the references. As far as research papers are concerned, these are the 4 most important references. And I'd like to talk about this tool Charm. So I basically use Charm, which is a Python-based rapid cryptographic prototyping tool for implementing all of these procedures and algorithms. So this gave a lot of flexibility. And thank you so much for giving me an opportunity. I like to address the queries you might be having.